His Holiness was 15 when he was enthroned as spiritual and temporal leader of Tibet, and 24 years old when he came into exile. Here in 1963, in Dharamsala at the Swarg Ashram, his first residence after moving from Mussoorie in 1960. His Holiness in Dharamsala with Indian and Tibetan officials. Seen here is Mr. Liushar, who was a senior monk official with Mr. Shagapa. The beginning years in Dharamsala lacked many basic facilities for the financially strapped Tibetan government in exile. But through the decades, the Central Tibetan Administration has functionally transformed into a remarkable organization in managing the socio-economic welfare of the Tibetan people in exile. At the Konim House, known to Tibetans as Kolam Degar, in Dharamsala 1960, became the first building provided by the government of India to accommodate the hundreds of Tibetan children that came from the road camps. The children are waiting to receive His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama's older sister, the late Mrs. Siring Dolma Tagla, became the first administrator of the Tibetan Children's Village, followed by his younger sister, Jesun Pema, who took charge of the adoption and education of the refugee children. These little children were one of the first badges brought directly from the road camps. The tragic news of their parents trapped in a snowstorm in Ladakh and their children dying prompted immediate rescue efforts by His Holiness. The first batch of 51 children admitted at the Nursery for Tibetan Refugee Children in Dharamsala, known today as TCV. By the end of 1960, the number of admissions increased considerably to more than 1,500 students. These children were either orphans or whose parents could not support them. They had been pulled out from various road encampments. Today, TCV is a vibrant organization educating Tibetan children. The Namgyal Mat Stupa in Upper Dharamsala was built as a memorial to those heroic Tibetans who lost their lives in the fight for Tibetan independence. Today, the stupa is enclosed in a temple and surrounded by prayer wheels located in the heart of Meklod Ganj. Dharamsala, known in Sanskrit as spiritual dwelling, is home to several thousand Tibetans, with His Holiness's residence and the headquarters of the Tibetan government in exile. Today, there are over 200,000 Tibetans all over the world, with over 3 million in Tibet still under communist repression, who are earnestly waiting for the day when the Tibetan people will be united. Through the decades, His Holiness has stood steadfast with his principles of nonviolence and advocating reconciliation through peace and dialogue. His Holiness has received many recognitions throughout the world. In 1989, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his great contribution to world peace. As a result, the Tibetan issue became well known worldwide. In 2008, the United States government honored him with the Congressional Gold Medal for his humanitarian efforts. Today, the Tibetan government in exile continue to hold talks with the Chinese government in an attempt to resolve the Tibetan crisis. So, as the late Indian freedom fighter Jaya Prakash Narayan said, is Tibet lost forever? No, 1,000 times no. Tibet will not die because there is no death for the human spirit.